Hello, everybody. I am Mrs. Poppet, and this is my place. Welcome back. Today we have another story that I don't know if you've heard of before or not, but it's a very, very good story. It's called Hans and the Striped Cat. Have you heard of this? Well, if you have, you can hear it again, and if you haven't, you'll hear it now. Hans and the Striped Cat. There once was an old bachelor miller who had 3 apprentices. One day he called them in and spoke to them. "As you know, I have no sons," he said, "so one of you must inherit the mill, and take care of me in my old age. Whoever finds me the finest horse will be my inheritor. Now off you go. Make sure you find fine horses. Come back in 7 years. The youngest apprentice was a lanky, simple fellow named Hans. The others were always laughing at him. "You wouldn't know how to run the mill even if you had it," they sneered. The 3 set out together. Outside the village, the older boy said, "Hans, you may just as well stay here, for you're too stupid to find a horse." Hans said nothing. He just walked on beside them. That night they all lay down by the roadside, and Hans fell asleep right away. The older boys had hoped that he would. When they saw him fast asleep, they hurried off. Once the sleeping Hans was far behind, they shook hands and roared with laughter at their trick. The first rays of sun woke Hans. Yawning, he looked around. He was quite alone. "Too bad," he said. "I'll have to do the job alone. How does one find a horse, I wonder?" A little tiger-striped cat jumped out in front of him. She said sweetly, "Where are you off to, Hans?" "Truth to tell, Cat, I don't know," said Hans. "Maybe you can help me." "Yes, I can," said the cat. "You want a fine horse, don't you? You've only to follow me and obey me for 7 years. I'll give you the finest horse alive." "I never saw the light," thought Hans. "This cat knows everything. I'll do well to do as she says." That was how Hans went to the cat's castle. It was an enchanting place. The cat's servants were clever and kind and elegant to see. They served a good dinner while a cat orchestra played sweet music. After dinner, Miss Cat said, "Well, Hans, you must be tired." "Yes," said Hans. "Then you shall go to bed," said Miss Cat. Servants showed Hans to his room. One took off his shoes, another took off his socks. Still another turned out the light. In the morning, one put on his socks, another put on his shoes, and still another washed and dressed him. "Thank you kindly," said Hans. All day he worked for Miss Cat. He cut down trees with a silver axe. He sawed branches with a silver saw. He split logs with a bronze hatchet. Every day after that, Hans was given some task. He ran errands, fetched water, or gathered watercress. He cut the hay with a golden sickle that had been sharpened on the golden grindstone. He did whatever Miss Cat asked him to do. One day, as Hans was mowing, he thought to himself, Are 7 years up yet? I have no idea how long I've been here. It's so pleasant. But I've grown too big for my clothes. That means time has passed. How much time?" That night he said, "Miss Cat, I do not know how much time has passed. Is it time for me to get my horse?" "Not quite yet," she said. "First you must build a house. Here are the tiles, beams, and rafters, doors, and windows, all made of silver. Use them." "All right," said Hans. The next day he began to build the house. When it was finished, it was very pretty. Hans went to the cat and said, "Miss Cat, I've built the house." "Thank you," she said. "Now I'll show you to the stables. The best horse belongs to you." The stables were magnificent, and the horses even more so. Hans couldn't say which horse was the finest, nor did Miss Cat ask him for his opinion. She handed him a paper bag that had ham sandwiches and hard-boiled eggs. "Here's your lunch," she said. "Now walk back to the mill. You won't get lost. In 3 days I'll bring you the horse myself." "Goodbye, Miss Cat," said Hans. He left and dressed as he had come 7 years before. His clothes were in rags and tatters and much too small for him. His shirt wouldn't button, his trouser cuffs just hit his knees, his toes poked out of his shoes, and his breeches were patched in several places. When he came to the mill, he found the other apprentices already there. They had brought 2 sad old nags for the miller. "Where's your horse, Hans?" they asked. "It'll be here in 3 days," said Hans. "3 days," they said, jeering. "Why not 3 years? What kind of a horse goes slower than a man walking? Someone's made a fool of you as usual." Hans went into the miller. "You're too ragged and dirty for my clean mill," cried the miller. "Stay out." Hans went outside. That night he wanted to sleep in his old room that he had shared with the other apprentices. "You're too dirty," they said. "Go into the chicken coop." So Hans went to sleep in the chicken coop with the chickens. On the 3rd morning, a gold carriage drawn by 6 huge horses stopped at the mill. A 7th horse was on a lead beside the carriage. A beautiful princess stepped out. "Miller," she called. The old man ran out, bowing and panting. He had never seen such richness. "I want your youngest apprentice, wonderful Hans, who worked 7 years for me," said the princess. "He's in the chicken coop, your highness," said the amazed old man. "Fetch him, then," said the princess. Cat servants had already gone to the chicken coop. They brought dozens of buckets of water, and they scrubbed Hans till he was shiny clean. Then they dressed him in princely clothes. His shoes had silver buckles, and his tie was embroidered in gold. He was as handsome as a king. The princess smiled when she saw him. "Miller," she said, "this horse is for you from Hans." She gave him the bridle of the 7th horse to the miller. "I never thought I'd see so fine a horse," said the miller. "It is certainly Hans who inherits the mill." "Keep your mills and the horse too," said the princess. She took Hans by the arms and led him to her carriage. Then away they went. They stopped where Hans had built the pretty silver house. It had become a great, beautiful castle. Hans and his princess were married. They were so rich Hans never had to work again, except for fun. Isn't that just a wonderful story? I mean, Hans did everything right, and he helped the lady, and he did what he was supposed to, and he never tried to cheat and never tried to get out of anything, but he lived up to his end of the bargain, and in return, the cat was really a princess, and she was set free, and she came back for him. And she rewarded him for the years of work he'd given her. So, again, doing good will always bring you good. I'll see you next time.